right now. Joining us, Chris Murphy, co-head of derivative strategy at Susquehanna. Chris, I really appreciate you coming on. Your notes always a must read. It's really kind of weird because the VIX is sort of near multi-year lows, individual option activity a little more dramatic. That seems to me like a disconnect. What are you seeing?
Yeah, that's, hey, Brian, it's a great point. It's just incredibly low correlation in the stock market, rotating in and out of whether it's small cap into Mag 7, even rotation. We saw a little bit today within the Mag 7 when a couple names are down and a couple names are up. So the reality is there is a ton of exciting option opportunities on the single stock level, even though the macro level with S&P is relatively boring.
Yeah, but the individual stocks, I think, listen, options are critically important to the market. They've never been larger than they are right now. Is there anything you're seeing, even with individual stock options activity, Chris, that could impact the macro market?
Well, the Mag 7 are obviously the drivers for the most part. And, we sometimes ignore the weekly option trading because there's so much of it. We try to find more interesting, little bit longer term. So, if you're talking about, Apple and Google, we're seeing a bunch of medium term, larger call spreads trading into year end, kind of the idea of you can never really be long enough these names. And I want to have a year end call spread in case they continue to melt up into year end. So that's interesting on the larger cap level. In terms of a trade in the near term on the smaller cap level, people are looking for the continued catch up of the small caps. There's a big demand for upside options there. So that sets up well for more near term call spreads, more as a trade in the small caps.
Are you surprised by how, I think the technical term is how blah the S&P 500 is from an options activity perspective? Valuations keep going up, markets keep going up. We're having AI deals that are, tens of billions of dollars, and we hope we have the power. It's kind of running the whole stock market. I'm a little shocked at how sanguine things seem, but my job, I guess, is to be nervous.
Yeah, well, no, I think that part of it's the correlation story, which I mentioned. Another part of it is people love selling options too. And if the S&P 500 is not, making big swings even on, Fed events and things that it typically used to, that's going to embolden volatility sellers even more. And if the volatility selling trade is working, the assets behind that trade continue to grow. So there's a little bit of a virtuous cycle there with the volatility selling and the smaller moves.
Yeah. What's the next biggest thing, Chris, you and your team are watching right now?
We're still looking at all of the high flyers in the near term. That's where the trading is. So you're talking about the quantum computing and the robotics. And, if you're looking at Tesla recently, how much that's moved, as people start to follow the momentum. So, it's nothing really under the radar. I do find it interesting that people kind of talk about retail favorites, and really it's just the names that are getting the most options volume. And the options volume is chasing the positive momentum. So at the end of the day, they're just the stocks that, have really been performing recently. But that's where the trading is. So that's a lot of what we're focusing on.